What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we have a doozy for you. A spoiler-free review and an unboxing of Blood Feast, 2016's 4K remake, and it's out today. Let's check it out. So yeah, Synapse actually just released this today. It's out on the street for you guys to check it out. This was a movie that was actually given to me by MVD Entertainment by way of Synapse Films. Thank you very much for sending that. This is, of course, a remake of the original movie called Blood Feast from 1963. And you know, this isn't even the original first remake of the movie. There was another movie called Mardi Gras Massacre from 1978 that was out. That's apparently a sequel sort of remake. Then there's Blood Diner, which is an insane, hilariously so bad it's good film from 1987 that I own and will be reviewing on this channel now for sure. And then we have Blood Feast. I never did get to see this one, so I'm going to do a spoiler-free review first of this movie, and then I'm going to get into the extras and what I thought of the 4K from Synapse. So let's get into it. So first up, to kind of understand this movie, you kind of have to understand the original movie, and there is a lot to kind of go over and a lot of really interesting history. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll put a timestamp down below if you don't want to hear that and just want to hear my opinion of this movie. But I promise you, it all kind of works together in the end. The original Blood Feast was actually released in July 6th of 1963 in Peoria, Illinois. This was a movie that was directed by Herschel Gordon Lewis. It was also written by Louise Down, David Friedman, and Herschel Gordon Lewis himself. It came about because at the time there were a lot of films that were doing the whole nudie thing, and that craze sort of kind of was dying down. So Herschel Gordon Lewis, who was known for doing a lot of these pictures, and David Friedman decided that they were going to come up with a new way to exploit things and shock the cinemas. And that was to use gore. And boy, did they shock the cinemas with Blood Feast. So they came up with this idea about this Egyptian caterer where this fancy family has decided to make a huge special feast for their friends and family, which the caterer decides to make an ancient feast that hasn't been eaten in 5,000 years. Fast forward to the party, he has basically cut up and used human beings and women as part of his feast for the goddess Ishtar. Now, this is a movie that at the premiere, they were handing out vomit bags because they were like, hey, you're probably going to need this, buddy. People were like, what? This is a wild thing at the time. People thought it was appalling. People hated the acting. They thought it was amateurish. There was a lot of talk about this film. Variety even did a whole piece on it where they were talking about that this was like a totally inept shocker, and that it was incredibly crude and unprofessional. They called it an insult to audiences. Los Angeles Times even called it a blot on the American film industry, calling it the grisliest, sickest picture ever seen. Years later, it's notorious. Time magazine has made it one of the top worst films of all time. Even Stephen King has chimed in on Twitter about this not too long ago, saying that this was the worst film he ever saw. And you know, despite all this hate and shock from all of the world, this movie that was made on $24,000 to about $60,000 made millions. It was an instant, infamous film that has shocked the horror world decades over. It's essentially kind of like the same outcome that you would have gotten if you did The Blair Witch back in the 60s. So needless to say, doing a remake of a movie as infamous as this is, it's a bold move, Cotton.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Marcel Waltz, who is the director in this movie, has done some different things with the film that I'm not really sure what to think, okay? Because like the original movie was, and I watched it before I watched this remake because I just kind of want to remember what it was all about. It's the original is not a movie that I really enjoyed or loved or anything like that, but it's one of those films that I just sort of appreciate for what it did in history for horror and what it did for the industry. You know, just as I do with the Blair Witch, which I'm not exactly fond of, and I kind of know the outcome, I still appreciate it for what it did. But yeah, it's a little silly, schlocky, not realistic, almost seems like a dream, but that blood in the movie and the gore in it was pretty cool and fun. Now, the director, Marcel Walz, is a German director. He's kind of lived in a lot of different places, but he decided to do this film. And he did other movies like La Petite Mort 2 and also Pretty Boy, as well as many other films that haven't exactly been the biggest films, but there is a sort of cult following for. And of course, Philip Lylson Schwartz actually helped write this along with Marcel to pad out this new 2016 release. It was actually put out on an Indiegogo that didn't get fully funded from what I looked at, but still got made anyway. There are a lot of names attached to this too. A lot of horror royalty or just film royalty in some way. People that you would recognize, like Robert Russler, who was in Weird Science and Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Caroline Williams is another example, who was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, the girl that wouldn't stop screaming throughout the entire film that people adore. And she's actually pretty good in this film. We have Sophie Monk, who plays the daughter of those two, and she was in movies like Click, Date Movie, which is that comedy, and The Hills Run Red. And of course, playing Ishtar, we have Sadie Katz, who's playing the goddess herself, and she was in Wrong Turn 6. But yeah, the story on this one is about the same. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit more updated, and I honestly, truly believe it's a lot easier to watch than the original. The original was only an hour and 7 minutes anyway, so you know, it's pretty dated. People who are not used to seeing films from the 1960s, this movie is going to be a lot easier, regardless of your fandom and whether you like the first one or not. This was just an easier watch for me than the original, and it should because it's been 50 years since at least. So in this story, what they do is a little bit different. They change a few things around. Fuad, the caterer from the original movie, is now changed into a family man, an American father, who has a wife and a daughter who moved to France. They open up a diner, an American sort of food diner in the middle of France. And late night, when he is not working at the diner, he's actually being a security guard at the museum. At the museum, you guessed it, Ishtar, the Egyptian goddess, is on display and somehow sort of woos him into creating a feast for his family. And you guessed it, using pieces of their friends and family and everyone around them. But is it Ishtar actually speaking to him, or is he just off his medication? Some of the practical effects in this are really graphic and really gory. And some of the acting in this is, it's a little, I've seen a lot worse, but I've also seen a lot better, but it's tolerable. Where I think this movie really gets pretty wild, sort of in the so bad it's good category for me personally, was its dialogue. This movie has a habit of bringing in weird romantic drama in the middle of the film to sort of pad out this film, and it's very inexplicable dialogue. I mean, I can tell you Robert Russler was probably not thinking he would ever say this line in a movie when he was doing Weird Science.
You're very handsome, and you helped me out. I think I have something in mind for you.
You have very pretty eyes.
I'm glad you like them. Would you like to see them with cum all over my face?
No, I think I'd like to rip them out and serve them in a tossed salad.
Fucking weirdo.
And that's just a taste of some of the many occurrences in this film where I was actually laughing out loud. To be fair, you know, the original movie was supposed to be sort of schlocky, silly, and not so serious. And then although a lot of the people that watched the movie were shocked, it was supposed to be schlock. It was supposed to be silly and not so real. Even the creators of the film, when Variety tore them a new asshole, were like, I've often wondered who told the Variety people that we're taking ourselves that seriously. So if you can apply that to this movie and just have a good time as a horror fan, I think you'll be okay. But for those that are going to take this movie as seriously as it kind of seems, they're probably going to have a bad time. But yeah, this movie is really well shot. It actually is competently made when they shoot it. It's not like some silly movie. You know, the score is serious and it kind of swells in different parts. But the dialogue in this movie, I swear to God, is some of the funniest shit I've ever fucking heard on a movie. And it kind of made me enjoy this movie a lot more because, man, and I mean no disrespect, but that shit fucking had me rolling for like hours. I had to stop the film so that I could pick it back up today to finish it because I was afraid that I would be too biased on it. So I wanted to air out my laughter a little bit and just kind of watch it. All things said, most people, if you're looking at this as just a serious film and you're looking at the gore aspect, that's a bonus. It's actually pretty good, decent gore. There are some really good scenes with blood. It's a real heavy portion of blood too. And they do some pretty gross out stuff with the feast itself. So it's pretty gross and I kind of entertaining with what happens during the feast, because I was laughing during that as well. Ultimately, regardless of what their tone was trying to go for, I think it's going to confuse people anyway, because they're going to be like, am I supposed to be laughing? If I'm laughing at it, is this even a good film? Well, just look at it as an entertaining film, and I think you'll be okay. That's when I'm looking at it from a perspective, and I was really struggling with how I was going to turn this into a review without sounding kind of disrespectful, but I'm not trying to be. It's just one of those movies that kind of combines a lot of different elements that are going to confuse a lot of people and make people laugh. And you know what? Some of my favorite movies are so bad it's good. So regardless of how you enjoy this movie, I still had a good time, a moderately, slightly above average time on this one than I have with a lot of films. So that's saying something. I do applaud this film. I understood what they were trying to do with the film and sort of make this more serious, cohesive story that actually makes sense and goes further into the lore of than the original movie actually did. I mean, I like the gore. I like the comedy, whether it's intentional or not. And some of the lines in this movie made me fucking bend over laughing. It's still actually pretty well shot, and it looks fantastic in 4K because of some of those dark moments. The Blu Ray probably doesn't do the darker scenes in this movie justice like the 4K at least. I actually had a fun time watching this. I'd probably say it's a 5.5 or a 6 out of 10 on the so bad it's good scale. But for most people, this is going to be a hard one to watch, but you have to watch it. It's out right now on the 16th today, so you can pick it up and watch it for yourself. You can actually pick it up right now on sale on Amazon for like 29% off. So I will put a link down below for you to pick it up for yourself if you'd like to. And now we're going to go over the ingredients of this thing. So this is the cover, which I think is actually pretty cool. I like how serious it is and sort of dark. It kind of makes me interested in wanting to see this film, regardless if I had or not. I mean, obviously, if you know horror, you probably know the name, so you're going to be drawn in by that anyway. But I don't think it's a bad cover, you know? It is the slip cover that comes with it here. Obviously, the back. We also have the new cover, which is reversible. You can actually change the cover if you'd like. On the back, it's pretty much the same, just a little bit more red. But you can use either cover if you want. I'll show you that cover now. On the inside, we get the, of course, pamphlet and everything, but more importantly is just the artwork on the disc here, which is the 4K disc. And now we're going to go over some of the extras in the features, which I got to check out a little bit here. So we get the original uncut version of the film, which is good. We have the Indiegogo promotional teaser trailer and the theatrical trailer. Plus they include the making of featurette, which is behind the scenes. And man, do they look like they're having a fucking blast, especially Robert Russler. He was like constantly making jokes on scene. But yeah, Chili Con Curtis Tonight is a music video that they do for the film, which is included in the movie, obviously. And Blood Feast, the red carpet premiere from 2018, and the Blood Feast scare cam. So you get a lot of stuff on this extras here. Typically, they include the extras on another disc, but it doesn't seem to take away from the look of the film, so that's good. Yeah, if you're a fan of this movie, or you are just a collector and you like So Bad It's Good films, or just want to have the entire remake sequels of Blood Feast, I would highly recommend getting it. Like I said, it's on sale right now on Amazon if you want to pick it up. I'll put a link down below, plus a few other places that you can pick it up for yourself if you'd like, at full price. Thank you, MVD and Synapse, for sending this one out to me. I really appreciate it. You guys rock. Love checking out any of them, whether I've seen them or not. They've always just let me do my thing and say my piece about it. So, you know, I thank you very much. But yeah, guys, what do you think? Have you seen it? Have you ever watched the movie before? Did you get to be a part of the Indiegogo campaign? Were you one of the few that actually got a copy years ago and checked it out? Or, you know, is this your first time even hearing about it? I would love to hear what you think in the comment section down below. But thank you so much for your time and spending it with me. Really appreciate you guys. And as always, long live the void.